Your WavyOcho, I'm gonna react to how Austin Aries destroyed his career.
Austin Aries in his prime was an unbelievable wrestler. For my money, he's one of the best in-ring workers of the millennium. However, with every company Austin Aries has worked for, he's always bought some heavy
He never worked for AEW though. I don't even think he worked for New Japan though.
baggage with him, and by that I mean he's always had a bit of an attitude problem and was always quite the backstage troublemaker. And unfortunately for him, despite his world-class in-ring work, his attitude and who Austin Aries really was would plague his wrestling career and ultimately kind of destroy it. But that's not the full story, there's a whole lot more, and we're here to talk about all of that today. So like the video, subscribe, and let's discuss how Austin Aries destroyed his own career. Austin Aries began his pro wrestling training in the year 2000 and would make his debut that same year in November. He would start wrestling for various indie promotions, but his first somewhat breakout would come in 2004 when he made his debut for Ring of Honor on April 24th. And by the end of 2004, he was the Ring of Honor World Champion, having beaten Samoa Joe for the belt. He'd hold the title for about 6 months before losing it to CM Punk, and he would continue to grow his career, as in 2005 he would make the next step up and debut for TNA. He debuted at Sacrifice 05 as a pole option to face Christopher Daniels, and he would win the pole but not win the match. However, his performance was enough to impress TNA officials that they signed him to a contract, and Aries was now signed to both TNA and Ring of Honor.
The first time I discovered Austin Aries, I don't know if y'all remember this, but he was Austin's star. Like when I first watched TNA back in TNA 2006, because that's the first time, that's the same year that I first watched WWE. And yeah, bro, the first time I discovered him, he was Austin Stars. Y'all, I don't know if y'all remember that, but he was Austin Star
And a regular member on both rosters. He would continue to find success in both companies, as in TNA he formed a stable with Alex Shelley and Roderick Strong, who he was already teaming with on Ring of Honor alongside Jack Evans. Aries and Strong would win the Ring of Honor tag titles in December 2005, and things were looking good, but 3 months later, the first signs of Austin Aries' attitude problems began to show. As in February 2006, Austin Aries as well as Roderick Strong was suspended from TNA for arriving 4 hours late to the Against All Odds pay-per-view. And this happened because Aries and Strong had just been in Long Island for a Ring of Honor show, and TNA officials had requested them to drive down to Tampa for Against All Odds a little earlier than originally planned, as there was a snowstorm, but Aries and Strong decided not to travel early despite the advice and stay for longer, thus causing them to be late, something that was very clearly avoidable. And when he would
they should have traveled.
return to TNA, it was under the new name and gimmick of Austin Star.
See, that's the first time I discovered Austin Aries. He was Austin Star back then.
And he would join up with the X Division, where you'll most likely remember him from Paparazzi Productions. 2007 would be an eventful year for him, as on April 18th, Austin Star was suspended from TNA for 90 days. This was due to TNA requesting him to film vignettes on what he saw as his day off, and though he did ultimately agree to do them, TNA weren't happy with his attitude again, and thus he was suspended. And then 2 weeks later,
Damn, bro. Son have an attitude problem, bro. Who pissed him off? Who get him tight? You know.
So it was announced that Ring of Honor had signed a new pay-per-view deal, and with that, TNA pulled Austin Aries from all Ring of Honor shows. However, also during this suspension, Austin Star would request his release from TNA. It was granted, and he returned back to Ring of Honor in June. And he'd spend the next 3 years in Ring of Honor, where he was once again a top star for them, and he would win the world title once again. He left Ring of Honor in 2010 to join join Dragon Gate as he had a short run that only lasted 8 months, as he left to pursue a career outside of wrestling as he was considering retiring. But this decision would be reversed as he was offered to return to TNA, and he took that offer. He returned back under the name of Austin Aries again in June of 2011, joining back up with the X Division, and by September he was the X Division champion. And Austin Aries would have an all-timer X Division title reign here. In fact, it's the longest TNA X Division title reign in TNA history, as he held it for 301 days, holding the belt until July of 2012 with a great catalogue of matches and titles.
That was his peak. 2012 was his peak. Austin Aries, that, he was the MVP of that year. He's the MVP of that year.
Of defenses, and in fact he would never even lose the belt, as instead the Option C rule was introduced. Austin Aries was not satisfied with being just the X Division champion, so the Option C rule was introduced by Hulk Hogan, which allowed...
Before 2012, Austin Aries, he had that feud with Bully Ray. He had that little program with Samoa Joe. He beat Bobby Roode. Austin Aries was hot, bro. Austin Aries was he was popular as a wrestler back in 2012. I remember.
The X Division champion to relinquish the belt to challenge for the world title, and thus Austin Aries would vacate the belt and challenge Bobby Roode for the world title at Destination X, and he would win the world title. In just over a year since returning, Austin Aries had become one of TNA's top guys. He'd hold the title for 98 days. It was a shorter but still sweet reign, as he lost the belt to Jeff Hardy at Bound for Glory. His next title reign would be a tag title reign alongside Bobby Roode, as they won the titles in January 2013, holding them for a couple of months. And one time while they were making their entrance, Austin Aries would get himself into trouble.
Oh yeah, the Christy Hemme incident. I know what he's about to say.
As during their entrance, ring announcer Christy Hemme messed up the announcement, leading Austin Aries to charge to the ring, corner Christy Hemme, and get on the middle rope to taunt. It's not a good image, and Christy Hemme was unhappy and uncomfortable with what took place. TNA fined Austin Aries, and Aries apologized to Hemme, which she was said to be satisfied with. And other than that, it doesn't seem as though Aries found himself in much other trouble in this TNA run, and he would exit TNA in 2015 after 5 X Division title reigns, a tag title reign, and a...
Austin Aries did good in TNA. He had a pretty successful TNA run, 2011 through 2015.
World title reign. He had done everything there was to do, and the only next step was to go to the WWE. He would sign to the WWE in January 2016 and go to NXT. He would have a decent run in NXT and was even set to
in NXT, he didn't really do much in NXT, bro. I feel like he he could have did much. He had that match with Shinsuke Nakamura. He had that one valid match with Shinsuke Nakamura. Before that, he had that Baron Corbin match, but I feel like he should have stayed for a little longer. You feel me? Had match with Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, Samoa Joe, Bobby Roode,
night with Roderick Strong in the Dusty Cup, but he had to withdraw due to injury, and this injury would end his NXT run altogether. As during his injury, he'd start doing commentary on the main roster for 205 Live and Cruiserweight division segments, and in March 2017, he would return to the ring and turn face by attacking Cruiserweight champion Neville. He would challenge Neville for the title numerous times, first at WrestleMania 33 in an underrated match where he came short, and he challenged again at Payback but won by DQ, and then he challenged again at Extreme Rules in a submission match but was tapped out.
That Extreme Rules, that match that they had, that submission match they had, it was wild boring. I ain't gonna lie, it was dumb boring.
And then shortly after this, out of nowhere, it was...
And they didn't even let Austin Aries use the brainbuster in WWE, bro. Now you see everybody's using a brain buster nowadays.
Found out that Austin Aries had been released. It was shocking to hear this news given he was just in a 3-month title program, but lo and behold, his attitude came back to bite him, as apparently Austin Aries was not popular backstage, including amongst WWE officials, and thus Aries was let go. Austin Aries' attitude had got him in trouble before with suspensions and fines, but never a firing, until now. And of course, Aries would return to the Indies and back to TNA again, as he returned in 2018, alongside all the belts he had won upon his Indies return, dubbing himself the Belt Collector. And he would expand his collection by quickly winning both the TNA World and Grand Championships, as Austin Aries was back to life in TNA again, and during his time as World Champ, he would feud with Johnny Impact. They would have a match set for Bound for Glory 2018, and in the lead up to the match, Aries and Impact would exchange words on Twitter, which had fans questioning if they were worked or not, where Johnny Impact was making fun of Aries' height, and Aries didn't seem to be reacting well. One very interesting and infamous tweet from Aries read, the form of discrimination that's still super cool. Short shaming. If I joked race, retards, your gay look, if I fat shamed your husky wife, instant outrage. But you can predictably cutter me over my height, genetics I don't.
It don't matter. Like, I think Aries is 5'8" or something like that. It don't matter. He good. Like,
Troll, and it's just funny. This tweet supposedly didn't go down well with TNA, and it also came out later that Austin Aries and Johnny Impact hadn't agreed with TNA to have an online feud leading up to the match, and these tweets of course got quite the reaction from the fans.
And they had a fucking scuffle in a press conference and shit to, like, you know, like bring hype to their match.
But at Bound for Glory itself, in the match, Johnny would defeat Aries before Austin Aries would completely just get up and no-sell the finish, just straight up walking away before flipping off the fans and TNA officials. What just happened? This was Aries' last appearance for TNA, and to this day, nobody knows what really happened here, and it's always been assumed that Austin Aries did this on his own accord, but there are various reports that say this happened due to Aries being concussed, and Aries was apparently at the next TNA tapings but was sent home, and then Aries has also said before himself that this no-sell was planned and he was meant to return to TNA, so nobody really knows. It's confusing all around, but alas, Aries hasn't returned to TNA and hasn't really done much at all in wrestling since. In 2020, various allegations were made against Austin Aries by numerous alleged victims, accusing him of various forms of predatory behavior, including a woman.
Now I remember that back then, 2020, like, so many wrestlers have been like have these allegations, whether it was like, you know, like this, like, you know, like SA, like, you know, allegations, you know, like abuse allegations, like, you know, racist allegations, like mad wrestlers, like, you know, face, like, you know, allegations, like, you know, somebody accusing, you know, of doing like bad stuff.
Claims that while at a show, she was made to bend down and kiss Austin Aries' testicle. Aries would release a long statement in response where essentially says he isn't perfect, but he's not a predator, and that the Austin Aries character isn't representative of who he is as a person. But after this, Austin Aries' career was all but dead. Nowadays, he works for low-level indies, and the only two promotions you might recognize that he's worked for somewhat recently are NWA and Control Your Narrative, which is just so predictable, right? He was only in the NWA for a short period of time from 2021 to 2022. He was there for a few months, part of a tournament, which made it to the finals of but lost. And he was also on a few of the Control Your Narrative shows, a company which died a quick death, as it was probably the worst wrestling promotion of all time. And since then, like I said, it's been pretty much nothing from Austin Aries, and it's safe to say his wrestling career is pretty dead in the water. Austin Aries in his prime was an elite level in-ring worker, brilliant on the mic, and could have a good match with just about anyone, but this really goes to show that no matter how good you are at your job, you're just not going to go very far if you're a dick. But hey, Austin Aries did go quite far, but it was never going to last if he kept up his attitude problems, and seemingly he did just that, and behold, it didn't last. That's it from me though, guys. Like this video if you did enjoy it, comment below your thoughts.
Okay, that's the vid. Austin Aries, like, I actually follow Austin Aries, you know, like, I actually follow him. Like, I've been following for a while, for a minute now, you feel me? So, yeah, bro, like, Austin Aries, like, what y'all think about Austin Aries? Like, thoughts on him as a person, thoughts on him as a wrestler? Because as a wrestler, like, he's a great wrestler. Like, he's a good wrestler, you feel me? But but as a person, I don't know him as a person. You know, I can't, you know, I don't know him as a person. But, yeah, bro. Would y'all like to see, what promotion would y'all like to see Austin Aries go to? Comment down below. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. Y'all know the vibes. Whoever you're checking out, you are.